Keep the rack door closed. I used to think data centers were too busy being math to be haunted. Cold aisles that bite your teeth, server rows that never blink together, eye-watering air that smells like new plastic and ozone. I'm 25, night SRE at a colo, where other people's companies pretend forever is a service tier. My job is simple: swap drives, babysit alerts, log change windows, and never open a customer rack unless the ticket says so. Extra rules from my lead, Priya. Don't pull floor tiles alone. Don't step into the hot aisle without a buddy. And if the remote console asks you to double tap anything after midnight, you tell it, no. She laughed when she said it. The laugh didn't stick. By 11:08 p.m., Hall C had learned its one long breath, cracks humming at N+1, PDUs ticking like patient clocks, the faint insect choir of fans deciding not to harmonize. At the staging bench, the cable label printer chattered without my finger on feed and spat a narrow thermal strip with no job number, no U height, just do not open rack. Along the edge in ghost gray, that wasn't our hour. 3:13 am. The wall clock over the fire panel said 11:09. I stuck the strip to the bezel because paper makes rules heavier. The first odd thing was polite. 2 knuckles. Tapped from inside the acrylic of a cold aisle containment door. Measured, not thermal pop. I looked up at my reflection a half beat late, and behind my shoulder, in the plastic, saw 8 doors ahead. Leaned toward my ear, mouth parted, like it had reached the first half of Dantata. I blinked until acrylic remembered it was a wall. The remote KVM on the crash cart woke itself. A pop-up slid into the corner, like it had rehearsed guilt. Power cycle rack, C13, double tap to confirm. 2 tiny hearts pulsed under the button. Soft as a dare, I hit cancel. The card minimized and pretended it had always lived there. The ceiling speakers for the floor warden system clicked. A voice came through slow and careful, like each word had to be lowered into place with 2 fingers. Don't open. Not Priya, not the building. The kind of museum voice cities use to label bones. I did the brave thing that isn't. I worked, swapped a blinking SATA in A11, logged a successful rebuild, wiped a pallet jack handle because rituals are scaffolding. At 11:19, the cracks, the PDUs, the fan wall, aligned into one note for 4 long breaths. In that held chord, the cold aisle door shivered against its latch like a sleeper scratching and settled. A tap-tap nutter traveled along blanking panels in row C, patient, measured, like knuckles learning a sentence, on the acrylic of C13's front door. A palm bloomed in fog from the hood inside, 5 long ovals and a heel, and reverse slid us an inch before thinning. Humidity here lives in single digits. Plastic doesn't usually learn signatures. My phone vibrated in the drawer in violation of policy. A text from unknown read, confirm power at 3:13. The tiny map dot sat inside, Hall C, then behind, my shoulder, then under it. Double tap to confirm. With hearts that pulsed like a small animal, I turned the phone off. It stayed lit long enough to flip to 3 point and back, like a muscle spasm in glass. On the fire panel LCD, the clock hiccuped 2, 3:13, and remembered 11:23. The label printer coughed a second strip, edges damp like letters that sweated. Leave the rack sealed. I slid it under the crash cart's lip as if paper could anchor plastic. I rolled to C13 because magnets are real. The customer sticker said a startup name that used to buy us donuts. Ticket queue, empty. The little green, locked icon on the smart handle glowed obedient. From the hot aisle, 2 knuckles answered back on the rear door. Exact, polite. The overhead indicator at aisle end flicked from blue to a blink that wasn't T in the manual. Paused at 3 chapter, then remembered blue. The access control tablet at the end cap woke. New card. Override handle lock. Double tap to confirm. Hearts patient. I killed the screen with my knuckle. It took a breath and obeyed. At 11:37, the floor tile by my boot ticked like a coin against steel. I don't pull tiles alone. I put my palm flat to the perforations the way you check the temperature of a bad idea. From the plenum below, pressure matched. Polite, not pushy, like a hand through grating agreeing we both exist. The warden speaker breathed again. Nearer. Leave. It closed. I wrote, quiet night. In the log, because forms like that lie. The ink looked wet a second longer than it deserved. The CCTV above the cold aisle entrance stuttered one frame that wasn't T in its cue. Instead of a view of acrylic and work lights, a near black image of a tilted head at lens distance, mouth an oval on the first half of Don't 100, then brushed plastic again. I went to the knock glass for air that tastes like ionized money. The window to the loading bay showed a dark square of outside, pretending to be honest. On the inside of the pane, a palm cleared dust in a circle, a thumb width higher than any breath I own, and slid in a patient inch. My breath arrived late and made a second story. At 11:49, the generator controller in the corner decided to self-test without telling anyone. Contactors clacked like applause from a stingy crowd. The building shifted its weight into aligned Ashammer again, cracks, PDUs, fan wall, gen, one held note that set my teeth counting. In that chord, C13S handle, nudged Karata toward open under no hand, and stopped like a dog, reminded it knows you. The crash cart, KVM drew a new dialogue without my help. Graceful shutdown in progress. Press double tap to confirm failover. The hearts pulsed. I typed who on the console out of habit and watched my own name echo back from a session I had number T opened. The prompt wrote, I'm here, in my cadence, and then erased itself. At 12:06, a whistle threaded the aisle. 2 clean notes at the pitch the facilities team uses on drills. It landed a beat late, like a copy not yet brave enough to be useful. I didn't answer. The aisle indicator blinked. 3:13. Once like a wink, and sobered, a ticket popped up in the system that didn't tear out through the pager. C13 handle maintenance. Created by. The details field offered a single sentence. In the careful wait, I was beginning to recognize. Don T. Open. I resolved it. One to fix, because that is a kind of prayer. Priya pinged me, or the part of the night that wore her name did. All good? I typed, mostly. The timestamp flickered. 3-pointer, and went honest again. She sent back, printer's old. The manager's blessing for what needs mercy more than fix. At 12:23, I heard tap tap again on C13's rear door, measured like punctuation. From the cold aisle side, the acrylic fogged our palm that slid its inch and thinned. The warden speaker offered kindness in a bedtime voice. Don't go down. There's a cable vault under Hall C nobody loves. I didn't love it either. I set both hands on C13's front door, just palms flat to plastic. From the other side, pressure matched. Present. polite. The smart handles screen showed a card that wasn't UI at all, just a block of gray with Ma, where the time should be. In the corner, two tiny hearts pulsed and then forgot their job. At 12:41, the building did its held breath trick again. The row identifiers blinked in a little wave that spelled nothing and looked like Don Tata Tata. For one frame on the crash cart, the KVM showed the hot aisle camera. Not the correct angle, but a view from inches above my own left shoulder. The tilted head. In the corner of the frame mouth, always one syllable from a word it wouldn't say. I printed a sign because signs are spells. After midnight, do not open racks without change, ID. I taped it to the end cap. The tape breathed like a small lung and held. The floor tile by my boot knocked twice from the wrong side, exact, polite. I didn't lift it. The access tablet suggested mercy. Schedule window 313 approved. Double tap to confirm. The hearts. Patient as a dog who hasn't learned its name. I ignored it, the way you ignore a cliff. Add 3.teen. Because some hours apply for shifts, every light in Hall C blinked once and held the cracks and PDUs, and fan wall hummed the same. One note. Like a machine trying prayer, the generator control kissed its contactors without committing, and C13's handle stopped thinking about its job. The aisle indicators remembered blue. The crash cart forgot its ghost cards and left me with the comfortable errors. Non-issue offsets, stable temp, operator present. Dawn in a data center is the same light, only rude. Priya walked in at 6 with coffee and the stance of a person who calls vendors like a sport. Quiet? She asked. Mostly, I said, and slid her the damp strips. She frowned at, do not open rack. Like it was a regulation she'd argue with, even if it were right. Printer's old, she decided. The supervisor's absolution for true things. She rapped C13's door with 2 knuckles. It answered with nothing you could invoice. We'll open that at noon with everybody watching, she said, and if it's empty, we'll call it a good day. At noon, with 3 badges and 2 clipboards present, we badged C13. The smart handle hummed like a throat clearing. The acrylic fogged in a perfect palm. One last time, and Mo slid its inch. Inside, gear that looked like any gear, patch cords in ceremonial colors, rails that learned Greece as a second language, except for a single blank U with no screws, where something had once lived, and a thermal smear on the back door in the shape of a hand. You couldn't see unless the light learned your opinion. On the inside of the rear panel, someone had sharpied a sentence in small, careful letters. Leave the rack closed. We closed it. Badged. Lock. Logged. No action taken. With the kind of relief that buys you an appetite. Priya put my printed sign in a sleeve and made it policy. I took swing shifts after that and tell people it because my apartment has windows that remember noon. Some nights around 3:13. My refrigerator knocks twice, like a polite PDU, the bathroom mirror. Fogs, a thumb width higher than I can reach, while a palm clears a coin and a slides. A patient inch, and my phone lights with Worksniso. Unknown, confirm power, followed by 2 tiny hearts that wait. When it does, I keep my hands off handles that want cleverness. I don't lift tiles when I'm the only spine in the room. I don't double tap anything that pretends to love me. In the steady voice Hall C taught me, I say, keep the rack door closed. For a long, thin moment, the apartment hums one note, like a server row at ease. A head leans near my left ear and practices the first half of Don Tour. Then the pipes remember water The hour lets go of its borrowed number, and whatever was learning my fingerprints, a half beat behind me, chooses someone else. S change window, and leaves mine to daylight, and tickets I can attach to a fix.
If you survived this far, leave your like to prove you are not afraid.